Now I'm like, I don't know
All
how
right, I think I
to.
found it. Great. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Gaynor. He and pronouns, the community engagement specialist here with the Department of Environmental Management. And it's my pleasure to welcome you today to one of like our many, I lost track of how many we've had so far. One of our community conversations of choose your own adventure, an exploration of our like Rhode Island like wildlife management areas. And there's a little special treat at the end as well, discussing our natural and working lands. Our speakers today are Mary Gannon to speak on the wildlife management areas, and for the natural and working lands, we have Tara Hoda. I would love for our interpreters to come off mute and give the Spanish introduction explanation to how to move to the interpreter room if you need it.
Yes, thank you. So, thank you. Welcome, everybody. We will be providing simultaneous interpretation into Spanish today, which means that we will be in a separate channel. And as the presenter speaks, we will simultaneously be interpreting. The interpretation has not been turned on yet. Once it is started, you will see a globe at the bottom of your screen, right where it says chat, react. You will see a globe, or you will see the three dots that say more. Everybody needs to choose a channel, including English listeners. So if you want to listen in English, you choose English, and then Spanish will choose Spanish. Let me just give the instructions in Spanish. Hay interpretación simultáneamente el día de hoy. Ya que la interpretación se encienda, van a ver un globo abajo de su pantalla o los tres puntitos que dicen más y van a elegir el canal de español. And just a reminder to the presenters, Spanish does require 20 to 30% more words when interpreting. So please speak at a moderate pace so we can keep up with you. We're usually about 2 to 3 seconds behind. But Mary, I can tell you are a fast talker. Yes. So just at a moderate pace, just as at a moderate pace so we can keep up and we can go ahead and start the interpretation. Mhm.
Thank you so much, Patty. All right,
You're
everybody, you're going to
welcome.
see some globe stuff. And for my English speakers, please select English. All right, now without further ado, let me get this presentation. Oh, hold please.
All right, channels are set. We should be good to go.
Fantastic. And share. I believe this one. Yes. Can folks see the slideshow?
Not on my end, not yet.
It looks like it's loading.
Okay. Did it do it yet?
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. Uh, Great. Cool. All right. So, Mary, take it away. And just let me just tell me like click forward all the things.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for Wildlife Management Areas 101, part of your Choose Your Own Adventure series for these community conversations. So my name is Mary Gannon. I work as the Wildlife Outreach Coordinator with DEM's Division of Fish and Wildlife. So my job is varied, and we'll talk a little bit more about what I do for the division and in our next slide. But um, before I dive right in, I'd like to just see either a show of hands or tossing it in the chat. How many folks have been able to visit a wildlife management area in our state? I'll just click in the chat so I can see. So seeing some thumbs up. Wonderful. So quite a few people have been able to visit our management areas. So this one here in the picture, this beautiful picture is, excuse me, is Buck Hill Management Area up in Burrville. It's really, it's like a hidden gem. I would highly recommend checking it out if you haven't been up there. It's up in the northwest corner of the state, and you can reach the tri-state marker in this particular property. It's really, really lovely. So Chris, we can advance to the next slide. If you haven't been to a management area yet, I hope that today's presentation will be informative and you can learn a lot and that you get out and get to visit one. So a little bit about me, your presenter here. So I'm a born and bred Rhode Islander, attended University of Rhode Island and have a degree in wildlife biology. And I was always interested in education during my time at URI. So I ended up after working for the division as a seasonal tech for the summer. That's me in the kayak during my seasonal internship, hauling a kayak over a stone wall in a pond, working as a habitat tech. So after that experience, I was trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do for grad school? Where do I want to go with this? And ended up by getting my master's of arts in teaching from Brown University. So I combine education and wildlife together for my job, and it's just so much fun that I get to use both of my degrees every day, and get to explore and assist our biologists and learn every day. It's just such a joy to be able to work in this capacity. So I love getting to educate Rhode Islanders of all ages about our species and the conservation work that we're doing. I do get to tag along on some cool projects like our Fisher project. That's the photo down the bottom where I'm holding that little fuzzy wuzzy creature there. That's a fisher. They get a bad rep, but they're really, really cool animals. I highly recommend everybody learn more about them because they are absolutely amazing at rodent control and just being really wonderful little predators on the landscape. And they're really not as scary as the legends make them out to be. This little guy is only about 13 pounds, and that's about as big as they get. That was a chunky fisher there in that photo. So he's really not that big. Yeah, helping out with our diamondback terrapin monitoring, and just really just getting to explore with our biologists and learn what they do so that I can interpret that to the public. But my most favorite little critter to work with though is my little one down here holding the net. This picture is so outdated. She's grown like a foot since that picture was taken. I just love getting to share all of this with her and any young kiddos I get to meet on the job. It's always a delight to get to work with kids and inspire them to care about our critters and conservation work. So next slide, Chris. So what do I do in a week? What the heck does a wildlife outreach coordinator do? So I'm not responsible for any biological projects. I just present the information to the public and I interpret what our biologists do to the public, and that's all ages. I like to say K through grandma. So I work with, I get to work with kids. I get to work with adults, a lot of mostly adults nowadays. I did start doing a lot of school programs, but nowadays it's mostly adults who attend our programs. I work with educators through our Roadie Critter Kits program. So if anybody is an educator on the call or you know an educator who's working with K through 12 students, whether that's in school or out of school in a non-formal setting, we have kits that you can borrow for 3 weeks at a time that cover a variety of topics. So, for example, we have a kit on reptiles and amphibians, and we have a kit on pollinators, and we have a kit on wetland habitats. Whatever you're interested in bringing to your students, we have 8 different themes to those kits. They're free to borrow, and we have like a little lending system, and you can pick them up either at Washington Park Library in Providence or at the Loudit Library in West Greenwich. Whoops, sorry, Chris, go back. So those are available, pretty much year round for educators to borrow. So my little plug for my critter kits. I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of social media posting, video creation and editing, graphic design, stuff that I did not think I would ever be doing, but I have learned on the job, which has been a lot of fun. I get to shadow and help bios in the field as needed. And honestly, whatever else they toss at me. I've planned book signings, I've organized events, I've proofread books. So it's just whatever they have for me, I'm happy to do it. And I don't do this all alone. I have Abby Clark, my outreach buddy, partner in crime there. There we are in the Salt Marsh for Salt Marsh Sparrow Banding. And Abby's a huge help, not only for my program, but also for our volunteer program as well. Next slide, Chris. Oops. There we go. So a little bit about the Division of Fish and Wildlife. We are distinct from the Division of Parks and Recreation, and we are distinct from the Division of Marine Fisheries. And also we are distinct from the Division of Agriculture and Forest Environment. While all of these other divisions do wonderful work, our missions are all slightly different because we work in different kind of different spokes of the same wheel of conservation. But for us at Fish and Wildlife, we're conserving and managing our freshwater and wildlife species for equitable and sustainable use. So use could be something like hunting and fishing. That's a consumptive use of fish and wildlife resources where you're taking an animal from the environment and using it for food. Or that could be something that's non-consumptive, like bird watching or just being in nature, that we want folks to get out there and enjoy these spaces and enjoy our wildlife for many years to come, so that my daughter and hopefully my grandchildren will be able to get out in these places and still see wildlife and enjoy our resources. Next slide. So where do we do our work? What we're going to be talking about today, our wildlife management areas. So the QR code there on the screen will bring you to the DEM map room, and we have an outdoor recreation map. So you'll have like a menu of maps that you can choose from. The outdoor recreation map is the one that you want to click on if you're looking for outdoor recreation. There's plenty of other really cool maps like farmers markets and all sorts of stuff. But if you're looking at this map here, all of that dark green is showing you. So there's a couple of greens there. So there's like more of an olive dark green that's showing you where the management areas are. And then also there's like a light pale green showing you state parks, like Goddard Park and Lincoln Woods. So those are not under our jurisdiction. That's under Parks and Recreation. But there's also undeveloped state parks in that kind of medium green. And those are officially owned by parks, managed by parks, but at undeveloped state parks, you can do some activities that you can also do on a management area. And they kind of resemble a management area a little bit more, but they're still under parks. So our management areas, as you can see, are mostly on the western side of the state. That's where a lot of our forest habitat is and our undeveloped land is. But we have some out in the East Bay, like Sapowit Marsh out in Tiverton, 8 Rod Farm out in Tiverton. We have Prudence Island there in the bay. A lot of that is under conservation, but it's primarily this western half of the state, and we're always trying to connect the dots of this habitat. So this is actually, oh yeah, this one's up to date because my printed maps I have are not up to date because we reprinted them in 2023, and since then we have acquired more land for conservation. So this map, if you go online, you'll have the most up to date to see where some of those parcels have been acquired. So like if we're looking at the northwest corner of the state where our picture of Buck Hill was at the opening slide, and then there's George Washington Management Area below it, but there's been a huge chunk of land that was purchased that was an old Boy Scout camp that was over 900 acres that actually connects the two now, primarily connects the two. There's some, a little bit of a gap there, but now it's a lot of contiguous habitat up in that northwest corner, which is a huge win for wildlife in that area. And we're so grateful that we were able to acquire that property. But we've got the whole Arcadia Management Area complex here down in kind of the center of the state. I hail from the Great Swamp down here in West Kingston, that green blob above Warden's Pond, Kingston and South Kingstown area. We've got Big River, smack dab in the middle of the state, and then there's a whole bunch on that western border. Even surrounding Arcadia, there's several management areas that all kind of connect. So it's a lot of land. It's over 60,000 acres of land that our office is located in, I'll say. Next slide, Chris. So who else conserves land in Rhode Island? It's not just us here at Fish and Wildlife. There's a lot of other folks who we work with, and we're grateful for their partnership and their work in conserving land. So we have, the Nature Conservancy, where we share conservation easements with them for sort of Tillinghast management area, Grass Pond. And they also have, of course, their own refuges. The Audubon Society of Rhode Island has, both public land that folks can go visit and private, closed to the public refuges that are just for habitat conservation. As I mentioned before, the Division of Agriculture and Forest Environment, parts of our management areas are actually owned and managed by forestry. So parts of Arcadia it depends on the funds that were used to purchase the land as to who is managing the land. But we work in tandem with them to try to communicate and work on the same goals. Parks and Recreation, of course, with our state parks, they are green spaces. They are valuable for habitat for many critters. They just have a few more amenities, and they're a lot more developed than our management areas, but that doesn't mean that they don't have value in connecting the dots. As well as U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service with the National Wildlife Refuge Complex. Down here in South County, there's Trustham Pond National Wildlife Refuge, Ninigret are the two bigger ones. Kettle Pond Visitor Center. They're beautiful places to go visit. And we work very closely with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And then, of course, the Town Land Trust. We can't forget the Town Land Trust and all the work that they do to conserve little parcels of land throughout all of the towns. It's so important in a state as developed as Rhode Island to just conserve as much land as we possibly can. So we do it all together. Conservation is a collaborative effort. Okay, Chris. So when we're talking about wildlife management areas and state parks, a few people raise their hands to say, "Oh, I've been to a management area." I bet you if I asked state parks, maybe we'd have a few more hands or a lot more hands. Places like Lincoln Woods, Goddard, Burlingame State Park, excuse me, our state beaches are managed by parks. So most likely you've been to a state park, but maybe not a management area. So what's the difference? So our management areas are undeveloped. Uh, Most of our trails are unmarked, or they're natural. So if you were here at the Great Swamp, there's a very large trail that's wide enough for a vehicle to drive down, so our biologists can get down to the far reaches of the swamp to do their work. But there's a nice big loop trail that is very obvious that it is a trail. Places like Arcadia, where the north-south trail runs through, you'll see maybe some blue markers on some of the trees, but it's really not, and Arcadia has a few more trails in it that are marked, but it's really not like when you're going to an Audubon property and it's like, you are here, and they have a little map and shows you where to go, or the trails are named or something like that. Like here's the snowy trail or something. So it's pretty rugged, I'll say, and rustic. Hunting is allowed on management areas, and we'll talk a little bit more about hunting in just a minute. There's a rare porta-john sighting in a management area. Some of our WMAs have a porta-john set up depending on where it is. But generally speaking, it's you in a tree or a large rock that you're gonna have to find if you need to use the restroom. It's natural habitat. It's not, you're not gonna see a mowed lawn with a picnic bench kind of thing. It's just going to be as is. We have some shared stewardship with Division of Forest Environment, depending on that funding source of how the land was purchased. But most of that land in our WMAs is land purchased with federal grants focused on wildlife, and I can explain how that works in just a minute. So for state parks, you're going to find bathrooms. You're going to find staff on site. You're going to find amenities like benches and tables and paved parking, a lot of parking. In our management areas, you might have 2 spots in some of our gates where you can park, but it's limited. And we've got varied recreation, like the little golf course at Goddard Park. There's lifeguards at the beach. There's landscaping, so it looks like people have been there to plant flowers and to maintain it. And on state parks, the two state campgrounds at George Washington and Burlingame, they offer camping, and both of those places border management areas. They're like a state park within a management area, so you can go camping in the park, but then you can go out and explore the management area, on your own, while you're staying there and you want to take a hike. But both places, you need to carry in, carry out your trash. Both places offer different types of outdoor recreation. It's green space that's valuable. Fishing and boating is allowed at both. Leashed dogs are allowed at both. And for those undeveloped parks, some of them are undeveloped, it kind of mirrors a management area. So an example of an undeveloped state park is Snake Den State Park in Johnston. That one, it's there are some limited markings on the trails, but you're not going to find a picnic bench there or a bathroom. But it's definitely more park-like, I would say, than a management area. But there is also limited hunting on the undeveloped state parks, primarily archery deer hunting. So it's not the full-fledged, hunting and trapping season on these undeveloped state parks, but there's some archery deer going on, and of course, fishing. And then both of them are closed at night. So we ask you to please, please do not show up after dark to either a WMA or a state park. We need to keep those closed for safety. Next slide, please. Okay, so what can I do on a management area? And here's a picture of this is Black Farm Management Area down in technically Richmond. Is that technically Richmond, Hopkinton? It's like in that. I always get it mixed up where exactly it lies on the map. But Black Farm is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful views of the Wood River here. It's just lovely in all seasons. I love to go in the fall, like when this picture was taken, because just get nice color and just lovely to see the fall colors on the river. So what can you do on a management area? Chris, you want to check out? There we go. So as I mentioned before, you can hunt, fish, and trap on management areas, but this is within set seasons using legal methods with a license. So it is highly regulated, and we have a regulations guide that is updated every year that hunters need to pick up and take a look and make sure they're following the regulations. We ask people, if you put up a tree stand in our management areas, please remove them by the end of February, or else the environmental police will remove it for you, and it will not be available to you because leaving the tree stand up year round will damage our trees. So we ask you to please put it up for your hunting season, take it down at the end. So Chris, we can move forward there. And because hunting is allowed on our management areas, we have to remind people, please, 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 please wear fluorescent orange from the middle of September. I just say September, start in September, so you don't have to remember, is it the middle? I don't know. Where does the middle lie, right? So September through the end of February, and then we have another little period from April to May. So September will be starting like the archery deer season starts. There's a couple of other seasons that'll get started there. October, we start small game, like pheasant season. November starts a muzzleloader deer season. And then December is the shotgun deer season. So that in that season, in the month of December, you need to wear 500 square inches. So I've got this little chart here at the bottom. So we have most of the time you can wear 200 square inches, which is a hat or a vest. During the month of December, you need both, because it's not just shotgun season. There's all of those other seasons are kind of coinciding. There's a lot more hunters in the woods at that time. So we just ask everybody to please be visible. And this is the biggest complaint we get from hunters about non-hunting visitors to management areas. It's not that there are other people using the management areas. It's there are other people using the management areas while not wearing orange, and they feel like it's very unsafe that people are not wearing their orange, and they get nervous and they do not like it that people are not wearing their orange vest. So please just grab an orange vest. They have them at Walmart and Amazon. You can find them everywhere. It has to be solid fluorescent orange. We've got Gabby here. my colleague Gabby with modeling a hat and vest, that nice solid fluorescent orange. This was part of a little social media video that we did to get people aware of this instead of just posting the little color wheel, just getting people's attention with a silly little video. I highly recommend it for your pets too, just to keep them visible. This is my dog Zinnia. We use her shamelessly on social media because she's super cute, and we try to get people's attention with how cute she is. She's very proud of her antler that she found. This was actually taken in Snake Den. We found a great antler there while on a hike. So she's got her little vest. She's leashed. She has a bell. So all of that is a great idea when hiking with your dogs in our management areas, and that's hunting season and even just year round. I recommend the bell just to let other wildlife know that there's a dog in the area to alert them. So we can move on. So why do we focus so much on hunting and fishing and trapping? Like, why am I talking about this first and foremost and not anything else? So the reason why we work so closely with hunters is because of something called the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Now, through U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, now it's called the Office of Conservation Investment. So basically, what happens is that the hunters and trappers and anglers, they purchase their licenses. Every year they have to purchase a license. Then they purchase, a firearm, archery equipment, their ammunition for boat uh, anglers. They're purchasing their bait and tackle, their fishing rods, their boat fuel, other equipment. And for that equipment, there's an excise tax on that the manufacturers pay, and those those tax fees are collected by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and then they allocate that out to the states to use for land acquisition, hunter education, conservation, and research and monitoring projects. So it's protected and it has to be used for wildlife conservation. It can't be scooped up by the state to use to fix the bridge or to fix a pothole or something like that, right? It's completely protected for wildlife. And we, a state agency, spends that money on various conservation projects throughout the year, and then everyone can receive those benefits, whether it's the hunter who's going out who needs a place to go set up his tree stand for the winter, or the bird watcher who loves to take a walk, in Great Swamp in the spring because it's crawling with warblers, to our game species that need certain habitat management, to our non-game species like dragonflies and turtles that just need the space to be, so that we're acquiring land to conserve, and then all of the species on that property benefit from that land conservation. So just to kind of give you a context of like how much we actually rely on this, all of this goldenrod kind of color here is for wildlife restoration, and then the darker goldenrod is for freshwater sport fish restoration, and then the rest of the colors are like our license receipts, and then the state funding is fairly small. So we heavily rely on these federal grants that the state does have to match 25% to be able to access those grants, but it's really what we heavily rely on to do the work that we do. I won't say it's a perfect system because it is used for when it was written in 1937, it was directed towards game species like birds and mammals and towards habitat conservation. It was not taking into account reptiles and amphibians or butterflies or other things that are wildlife and certainly need our help. Our non-game bird program can pull from that. So our salt marsh sparrow project, which, a salt marsh sparrow is not a hunted species, but it certainly matters. It's critically endangered. It's on the landscape here, and it's going to disappear with our salt marshes if we don't do something about it. We can, use those funds for salt marsh sparrow research and monitoring. We can use those funds for our bat program, which is wonderful. So it does have some wiggle room, but for things like turtles and pollinators, what do we have available to us? Chris, if you want to advance the slide. We have state wildlife grants. So this is an offshoot of that federal grant program. It's a much smaller amount of money